It's an At the Office edition of the East Bank Sports Show, serving up the hottest sports takes from right here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Cleveland, welcome into the office, the podcast where we talk all things and everything sports. Yes, even soccer. We're doing another soccer topic this week. I'm your host, Noah, joined with my co-hosts, John and Erik. I did that backwards because there is a mirror effect with my camera. You can join the conversation here at the office too. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or text us. That number is 216-250-1411. That is 216-250-1411. John, Erik, gentlemen, how are we doing? I'm exhausted. How are you guys?
Been a long week over here too, but Friday Eve tomorrow. We're almost there. I'm doing well, man. Cavs got another win, bounce back from Boston, and we'll get into the Browns shortly. But yeah, I'm doing well, man. How about you, Erik?
The new streak started tonight, fellas. I'm excited. I'm not down at all. I have the energy tonight. I'm ready to slap you two mother through the screen. That's where I'm at. No, I'm doing good. I don't even care about the Browns. Doesn't matter. Going to see a movie instead tomorrow. Gladiators out tomorrow. Everyone go see it. Browns don't matter. Cavs streak starts again. The home streak continues. Yeah, I'm good. By the way, United States world, I did not come up with the soccer topics today, so please don't blame me for that.
I like the movie topic, to be honest. I don't know if I'm more excited for Gladiator or Wicked. We might go see them both.
I don't know what it is about Wicked. Sorry, no, you're just gonna have to pause for this rant real quick. I don't know what it is about Wicked, but Ariana Grande being in it just makes me not want to see it, and that sounds so ridiculous, but I don't know. It's throwing me. It's not like a Barbenheimer moment.
She can sing. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, she can sing, and she looks good doing it. She's annoying.
So my mom's favorite show of all time, like Broadway, whatever, is Wicked. She has a connection with it with her childhood best friend that passed away, who's also my godmother. So I'm excited to see it. Don't know if I'll go see it in theaters just with how hectic my next 2 weeks are, but I'm definitely going to watch it at some point just because of that. It's also the only show I've seen on actual proper Broadway. So there's that.
Which was a great.
Me too.
I've seen it as well, and it was so good.
Yeah, it is really good. It's a good story.
And I hated.
John, go ahead.
No, sorry, I
hated.
I turned you guys' volume down, and now I'm having a hard time hearing you over myself. Yeah, it's the only one I've seen on Broadway too. I took Mary before we got married. I took my wife to see it at Gershwin, and Hamilton's my favorite musical pound for pound. But the end of the first act in Wicked is like the best moment at the theater I've ever had. It's great.
Yeah,
Hamilton was amazing, but for me, it will. And I think seeing it in London just puts it on top for me. But Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, so good. It was like my childhood. Don't care if the timeline stuff doesn't make sense. That's my number one forever and always.
It's a unique pick. You're not going to get that every day. I tell you that.
Right.
Gentlemen, we are going to talk about movies forever if I don't push you guys forward. And we have some 30-second takes to get into today. There's been a lot of chatter about the Cleveland Browns and what's exactly going on over there in Berea right now. And, Erik really wanted to talk about Kevin Stefanski when John and I were on the show alone about 2 weeks ago. So I kind of brought it back as 30-second takes. How are we feeling about Coach Kevin Stefanski now? Me and Matt talked about it Monday on the East Bank Sports Show after that lazy-looking, terrible loss to the New Orleans Saints. 30-second takes. Erik, I'm going to have you start us since you weren't able to talk about it the last time we did this. 30 seconds on the clock. You ready, man?
I guess. I think I need more than 30, but let's do it.
Put it in 30. We'll talk about it after. We always go over on this segment, but I will mute you. Ready, set, go.
Stop me if you've heard this before. I've just got to do better. We've just got to do better. He's a broken clock that's not even right twice a day. Listen, here's the thing about Kevin Stefanski. I don't want to move on from him unless we have our next coach lined up, ready to go. I don't want some coach search because you can't replace a guy unless you know for sure you're replacing with better. But his shtick is up. It's gotten old, and I think we're all tired of it.
Yeah, I would just move right into. Oh, go ahead, Noah. Unless you were going to go next.
No, well, I was gonna say, John, are you ready,
We
man? I
need the
wasn't gonna put you
timer,
on.
John.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
need the time.
Why are
I'll
you
just take
jumping so quick?
Stop stealing 10 seconds.
All right, we're not going to
Ready,
make why are you
set,
coming to a
go.
quick joke, I guess. But anyway, Kevin Stefanski. So we said a couple weeks ago or last week that I thought his job security was like pretty good. And the one thing you could do in a bad season to make it worse is lose the locker room. These guys don't play for him. We have too much talent on this roster to be getting like dog walked by the Saints. I'm lower on Stefanski, but I'm with E. If we don't have a better option and an heir apparent, let's just keep him.
So I'll go now. Give me 1 second. I got to pull up something for reference. Yeah, I'll do it off the hip. It's fine. It's fine. I'll go into it. I'm echoing what you guys say. I am low on Kevin Stefanski. It looks to me as if this team does not want to play for him at this point in time. We got guys jogging around the field, that kind of thing. There's a YouTuber I watch, and I wanted to give him credit. That's what I was trying to pull up.
Jake Paul.
He said it best. It was, well, now you're just cutting into my time. Their 5-year plan failed, and we need to start over, and we need to start with some football guys. That being said, we got a true football guy in the locker room, Mike Vrabel, ready, willing, and able.
So do you really think Vrabel is the answer?
I think it's boring football, but he's a good coach. Here's the thing. Vrabel gives you the leadership, but I've always thought Kevin has that too. He's been a little stubborn, not giving up play calling, etc. Listen, it's an organizational failure top to bottom. And where I think you're wrong, John, obviously I wasn't on that episode when you were talking Stefanski, but where I think you're wrong is saying that his job's pretty safe. The blame game is going to start. And we know one thing, the Haslams are not taking the blame. So shit rolls downhill, and I think they'll be looking to make moves just to make a statement because something's got to change kind of thing. So is he a good coach? Yeah, I think he is. He tends towards boring football, but I think you guys are right. There's too much talent on this roster to waste it. You put a good offensive coordinator, which I think we do have, and a good defensive coordinator. Not sure what's going on with the D. I think it's time for Shorts to go. And I think you have things clicking again.
Not to disagree with you disagreeing, just context, since you weren't here. We were coming off a win against the Ravens, and the question was how secure on a scale of 1 to 10. And I said 1 being get him out of here, 10 being he's Bill Belichick. I said he's probably a 6 or something like that.
Okay.
2 awful losses later and losing the locker room were some of the things that I think led me to. No, I don't. I think Vrabel. I don't know if Vrabel's the answer, but I don't think. I think Stefanski's seat has gotten a lot hotter in the last 3 weeks.
How about Pete Carroll? I know he's old as shit, but
I think
Pete not Carroll. In this day and age.
No.
Nah.
Your second team, he made him into a monster, and then he was unceremoniously dumped.
I'm more still in favor of Vrabel. He's here. He's got a feel. He's that fiery guy. He's an Ohio guy, Ohio State. That's kind of where I'm at. I wanted to point out too the amount of times a Browns head coach in the past has been fired after losing to the Steelers. And we play the Steelers tomorrow night, I think is very fitting for this topic. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. So if they go out there and lay another egg, which they probably will, who knows what's going to happen with his job after this week.
I think they do it at the end of the season. I think his job's fine through the end of the season. Making a change now would be an even dumber move. Like, what's on the line that you make a move right now and potentially have a bad start to your new coach? I just don't like that.
No, and I don't think the other thing, and this is a debate me and my dad, we talk like 4, 5, 6 days a week at lunch. When we talk Browns, the thing that I keep coming back to is 1, if you fire the guy, you got to have a guy. But 2, whose fault is what? Nobody's going to tell us, and to the Browns' credit, their front office has been tight-lipped. But if Stefanski's idea was to go for Deshaun, he's really in trouble. If the front office said, hey, shut up, Kevin, we don't care what you think, take this guy, it's less his fault. So there's an element of this that's out that we don't know because we don't know whose fault the current state is. But again, he lost the locker room and the defense quit on him. So
But the fault doesn't matter because it's guys like Barry and Haslam aren't going to go, oh, yeah, we effed that up. No, they're going to be like, win with what you have. We gave you pieces. Why aren't you winning? And I know that's not fair, but that's how the league works.
I don't think
it's
it is.
Front to back. It's a front to back team, corporate, whatever you want to call it, institutional failure. That's what it is at the end of the day, because we all ended up doing this because Haslam shelled out the money. Barry gave up the picks. Stefanski has been in the media backing Deshaun Watson this whole time. You know what I mean? It's a front to back failure at the end of the day. That's what it is.
I think it will help with job security, though, specifically for the coach. And that's what I was going to say. I don't know that it is for Erik. You're 100% right. That's how the league works when it's public and you know whose call this stuff is. Jimmy Haslam could be a guy who says, you know what, I shoved this down both of your throats. That's on me. I'll give you both another year. And we'd never know. So
yeah, he seems like a reasonable guy that would say, when he's not screwing truckers out of their hard-earned money, he goes, this was my fault. That seems like the Jimmy Haslam I know. I mean, come on. That just doesn't sound realistic at all. I hope I'm wrong. I love that you give him the benefit of the doubt, but that's not the owner I know.
Fair.
Yeah. Gentlemen, I'm going to push us forward because we could talk about this and do the he said, she said, whose fault, who it isn't. We're not going to know maybe ever, potentially at least until the end of the season with everything that's going on in Berea right now. Kind of wanted to see how we felt, going in with the history, like I said, of the Steelers game being so important about, Cleveland coaches getting fired, that kind of thing. And I wanted to let Erik have his little spiel since he didn't get to be on there for that episode. He had some family in town. No big deal.
Which, hey, Noah, real quick, before you jump to the next topic, are the topics and our names the new color and homage to our new Cavs jerseys?
Yeah, I did it this week. It's also my favorite color, and I decided you guys were just going to have to put up with it this week.
No, it's good. I was hoping it was because of that.
Carolina blue, you don't have to sell me on it.
100%.
Put Carolina in front of it. Let's call it Cavs blue. Stop that.
Yeah, it's Cavs blue now. It's 16-1 blue, baby.
It's been Carolina blue since 1928, and the Cavs came out with a jersey 3 days ago. Yeah, let's call it Cavs blue. Okay.
We live in Ohio.
Well, they wore it in the 90s, too. They wore that blue in the 90s, too. Let's be for real. Gentlemen, I'm pushing us forward. So this topic is kind of an open-ended one, and I picked it because I thought it was interesting on a couple different levels. Do fan-led boycotts or protests, like with the NFL's kneeling controversy, truly impact the league? Now, I also want to open this up to thinking about things such as the 0-16 parade. The Oakland A's sell the team, keep them in Oakland, them all boycotting, not going to the stadium, but tailgating outside and watching the games in their cars type thing that happened at the beginning of last season. I kind of want to know if you think there's an effect here or not. And, the business implications. We're all some marketing guys here at the end of the day, some sales guys, right? So I just want to hear your guys' thoughts. So let's open the floor. Erik, you started 30-second takes. John, go ahead, man.
Yeah, the short answer is not a ton, but let me go a little bit deeper. The reason I say not a ton is because leagues like the NFL make the majority of their money from TV revenue. Those contracts are locked in years in advance. And the NFL is going to be the NFL and make NFL money, regardless of what fans do on a game-to-game basis on the whole. Now, would the Jacksonville Jaguars love 40,000 more fans? I'm sure. Can you hurt, selling out a 90,000-person stadium by only selling 70,000 seats? Yes, but on the whole, I don't think so. But on a deeper level, like with the kneeling piece of it, I also think that it's a tit for tat give and take. We saw stuff like this with the Guardians changing their name to the Guardians from the Indians, with Colin Kaepernick. There's all kinds of little hot button issues where people take political stances and people get pissed. I think they earn as much respect from people who side with them as they do neglect from people who would get pissed over it. I saw more Colin Kaepernick jerseys in my life after he took a knee and got blackballed from the league than I ever did before he played for the 49ers, for instance. The Guardians fans who don't care that they changed their name buy new stuff. So all the people go, I'm never rooting for them if they're not the Indians. There's an impact on social media. There's an impact on kind of the the zeitgeist and it's like a political talking point that people squawk about, but like, no, nobody in the NFL who owns a franchise lost sleep because of Colin Kaepernick. Now, there's all kinds of other ways I could go with this, but to keep it on this one topic, I don't think they're that big a deal. The only time it's really, really ugly is when it's like severe legal cases, right? Like if there was a huge contingent of women protesting Deshaun Watson, that could be a really bad look and ugly situation for the Browns in the league. But generally speaking, no, I don't think it makes that big an impact.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here for a second and then let Eric go. I agree with you for the most part, right? I pulled some numbers and stuff focusing on the Colin Kaepernick side of this because that was like the inspiration for the topic and all of that. The NFL did experience a rating decline when that happened. It was between 8 and 10% for the seasons of 2016 to 2018. But I mean, think about it up until this point now, too. Think about all the stuff that they do in terms of social justice and that kind of thing. It takes all of us as a branding thing that they have in their end zones now. And you can have a social justice message on the back of your helmet if you so choose. And all of these things that would have, if they would have, interacted this and incorporated this in the league when Colin Kaepernick and all that controversy was going down, I think it would have made it blow up even worse. So in the short term, yeah, there was a little bit of an effect. In the long term, not so much.
What say you, E?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little disappointed that you guys said that no, democracy doesn't work. Listen, I think that protests always can initiate change. I think the one exception to that rule is when you have authoritarianism, that it's a little more difficult. They just kind of ignore those voices. But otherwise, yes, absolutely. And we're talking about capitalist sports teams that care about one thing: money. John, I think you make a good point that, most of the NFL's money, for example, comes from TV contracts, and that money is guaranteed far in advance. But we have seen some change from the Colin Kaepernick protests. We've seen that the Black National Anthem is now played both in stadiums and on TV much more regularly for big events and prior to big events than it ever has been before. I'm not sure that I've heard it before, Kaepernick started kneeling. We've seen a change in advertisers during the big game, whether that's for good or bad, whatever, but you see some of that change. Coca-Cola had a very inspirational come together kind of commercial during the big game several years ago. All of that stuff has led from these protests, and the protests were obviously about equality more than anything. But there's another example that really shows that change can happen through protests. I want you guys to take a little trip with me just for a moment across the pond to the UK. I know. Listen, I know I'm going to compare soccer, but pound for pound, when we're talking money, the Premier League is one of the biggest leagues in the world, if not the biggest league in the world. There's a lot of money that goes into the Premier League. And a couple years ago, some of the teams, the top teams, so you're talking like Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Man City, etc. They decided to get together and form, along with other teams across the world, like Barcelona, Real Madrid, etc. They decided to form a super league. So basically, this league would kind of preempt, for lack of a better word, UEFA. And things like the Champions League. Now there would be this Super League, and it was kind of modeled on the top teams, like the Chelseas of the world, automatically get their at-large bid kind of thing because they're one of the mega teams, and money would just flow. Well, fans lost their shit. They protested outside of stadiums. They protested at matches. They protested. And what happened was the owners of the clubs, almost all of them, said, never mind, bad idea. Scrap that. We're not going to do that. We're no longer taking part in the Super League. We're talking about owners that stood to make a lot of money, and they backed down because it was such a bad look and they saw the potential money that they could lose. I think Real Madrid is still pushing for it and trying to keep people like legally entwined in this shit. But other than them, no one's in it. So yes, I think protest can impact leagues and can cause change. I think players and their actions, they have platforms and they choose those platforms to elevate their voices. The NBA as a whole does a really good job at this now. When there are things in the community that's happening, they typically they show their support or dissent. Dissent's probably a better word. Through the clothing that they're wearing. And these are team things. These are actions of an entire league. So long answer, yes. Now,
so super quick, since you took a breath, I'm going to take one quick, because I am not a rule follower on the whole, but on this podcast, I get really caught with the specific words of the question. Everything you said is true, but the question is, do fan-led boycotts make an impact? And everything you said was a player-led.
No, it wasn't. My biggest example was the soccer one, and that was fan-led.
The NFL with Cap and the NBA with the players and the stuff on the field was a result, I feel, of the players' protests, not of
sure.
Now, across the pond, yes. I was going to say this whole Super League thing. I remember when that happened.
Me too.
But
that's a good example. But I agree with you that player protests make a big deal, and I agree with you that protests in general make a big deal. I just don't think the fans going keep the chief is going to do a damn thing.
But is Colin Kaepernick doing that without the influence of his girlfriend? Probably not. And I know I'm twisting, I'm straw manning you a little bit. But that's a fan-led boycott in a way. I get what you're saying.
It might have been a fan's idea. It wasn't fan-led. Cap was the one who took the knee. Cap was the one who got barred from the league and cost himself millions.
No, fair, but was Cap not following Black Lives Matter and the voices in the community? I know
you already called yourself out for giving a straw man argument here, but it is a straw man argument to be like, well, he's piggybacking off of this. None of the hype or anything that happened, the controversy surrounding that would have ever happened if it wasn't a predominant quarterback in the league at the time taking a knee during the national anthem. That is player-led. That is not fan-led, regardless of what other societal background there is at the time.
Or whose idea it was. That's the other thing.
Listen, at the end of the day, maybe that's a bad example, sure. But we can all vote with our dollars. And if enough people stop watching the NFL and the dollars are actually impacted, you better believe changes will happen.
So that's true. But I want to dig a little deeper on the question then, because it doesn't say, can fan-led boycott, or theoretically, would they if we? The question is, do they?
You should have never gone out of accounting.
Protests work on the whole. The Montgomery bus boycott.
If you're ever a Supreme Court justice, you'll be a contextualist for sure.
Yeah. I just think it matters. Do fan-led boycotts, and can fan-led boycotts, or do player protests? There's different questions.
So do they work? We have one example where, yes, absolutely they worked, which means that's all you need. Yes. Next question.
Yeah, out of 1,000 times, one worked. I don't know if that's
copious. I was going to use, I brought up the 0-16 parade. I brought up, sell the team, keep us in Oakland, and the Browns suck right now still, and the A's are not staying in Oakland. They are moving next season and permanently moving to Vegas in the predominant near future.
Yep.
So, again, money decisions. Hugh Jackson was fired, though. Not saying that was because of the parade, but listen,
he was fired after the fact, though.
For sure, but what does an 0-16 parade? I mean, what was that ever going to do?
Protest the sucking.
No, I agree.
I think so. There's a spectrum, right? You went to one, and to give you credit, you went to one really good example with the Euro Soccer Super League. That's the only thing I can think of, and I didn't even think of that coming. Like, name me another time where fans protesting could completely change the league like that. Like, Hasn't worked once. Yeah, that's a great example.
Is there an example though that they've tried? Like what's a fan-led boycott or protest that would have had such an impact?
We've named a few that could, and they haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get granular here, there's a fan-led boycott to bring the Redskins name back, for example, and it's never going to happen. Even if they bring, every.
That's just ridiculous, though.
But it being ridiculous isn't the point. The point is it didn't work. That's what all we're trying.
That one didn't, but one did. I don't know. We're splitting hairs at this point.
We're splitting hairs for sure. But we're using one example that has worked in the history of sports, and sports has been around, forever, but you're talking professional sports. 1900 is kind of where I put it roughly. Okay. That's the only example any of us sitting here can think about. Through baseball's predominance, through football's predominance. I mean, I was going to use NIL as an example, but that isn't a fan boycott. That's a player boycott or a player protest that they should be making money off their name, image, and likeness. It started with a player that in the courts to have that happen. So the more and more we're sitting here and talking about it, the more and more it's like, no, they don't really work. We have one great example, and I think that's a fantastic example to bring up, but no, they don't work. They don't care what we have to say
because they're so small.
I have tickets for the Browns game tomorrow, and people are talking about protesting the Browns for the rest of the season. Yeah. I've said it myself. I'm still going to end up going to this game if I can't sell the tickets. By the way, shoot me a message on Twitter. There's my app right there. If you'd like to buy my tickets.
If you guys have 8 quarters, that's 8 25-cent quarters, you can see yourself in Noah Olsen's seats at the Cleveland Browns.
I would probably go for $2 at that point, but
that is $2. But
I think your point's good, though. You keep saying yeah, but, and our point is when you have to say yeah, but the yeah is all we're looking for. I'm not saying these are massive protests. I'm not saying they're good examples. I'm not saying we should have kept Chief Wahoo or the Redskins should be the Redskins and not the Commanders. I'm just saying it never works.
But there hasn't been my point. I think you're missing. I think you're missing my point. My point is there has never been a cohesive fan-led boycott or protest where they're voting with their money and making it clear, hey, we're done. We haven't seen that. So would it work? Absolutely. We all know money is
that's never happened.
The main motivator, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen an issue that fans have cared enough about more than watching sports. So even though it's Colin Kaepernick, fans kept watching. Is the league racist as shit? Sure, but they tune in every single week. So until there's a hot button issue that all fans care about that gets them off the couch and says, no, this is bullshit, we're done. I don't know that exists, though.
So if it doesn't exist, how can you say yes?
Because there's something. I mean, if it came out that Jimmy Haslam was drowning kids and after he rapes them every night, like every Sunday, then yeah, people are probably going to boycott him. Sorry, Jimmy, I know you don't do that.
Okay.
My point is there are issues. We all have our breaking points. We just haven't found them yet.
Ray Rice, Deshaun Watson. I mean,
they're bad. Yeah. That says a lot about fandom, doesn't it?
It does. And that's part of my point. Do you see ever of the fans protesting big enough, to use your term, for it to make a difference? No,
I think leagues like the NFL, the biggest issue that they'll face is apathy in years to come.
That's a good argument.
It's not one big issue that will be boycotted.
I love the apathy thing too, because that's almost where I'm at with the Browns. I always care, and I'm usually either rip-roaring mad or really excited because they're good or they're bad. This is the least emotionally tied I've ever felt to a Browns team in my entire life, and that should be scarier.
You can't, with your mental health, you can't. Like, I sit down and I'll turn them on and I go, oh, they threw a pick. Like, I can't tie my emotions to this team, and we're at the point in the season, though, where we know it doesn't matter, so that helps. But it's just not – like, I'm so emotionally invested in the Buckeyes. If they lose Saturday, that's going to rip my heart out.
That's true.
And
I'm with you.
I can't lend that to the Browns because I know that story. At least with the Buckeyes, we have a chance. We don't with the Browns.
No.
Yeah. Gentlemen, this has been an interesting one. The Jimmy Haslam comment by Erik has still got me baffled a little bit. I think we're pulling hairs. Right. I think we're pulling hairs a little bit. Me and John are saying, no, it hasn't worked, and it's not going to work because it'll never be big enough, except one rare chance. And Erik said it could work if people think it's a big enough deal, which is fantastic. We're really making.
I think we all agree.
Yeah, I think we all agree, and I think we're just making straw man arguments at this point just to continue the bickering. So what I'm going to do...
It's more fun to argue than agree, though, Noah. I mean, if we all get along all the time, what the hell's the point of that?
100%. I agree. I agree full. That being said,
I'd take Mike Tomlin if we could get him next.
Sure would. Best coach in the league, Noah. How's that taste?
He's not the best coach in the league. Anyway... Gentlemen, we are going to go to commercial break. When I come back, we are going to talk a little bit of MLS and soccer and the big four sports in America. This is At the Office. We'll be right back after these commercial messages. And we are back at the office talking all things sports, having a good old time over here on a Wednesday night after another Cavs victory. I want to make a quick announcement real quick. You know, of course, we're going to shout out all the fanatical elves and fans first. I guess I already did. Make sure you check out their content. I want to make sure any of our normal viewers that are tuning in know next week we are taking a break here at the channel, the East Bank Sports Show, which also features The Office. Unless something catastrophic happens, like Kevin Stefanski gets fired or a big injury or something like that, we're all going to go enjoy our Thanksgiving, take a much-needed rest from the corporate America world and the talking sports world. That includes the East Bank Sports Show, again, barring anything that comes up, you know, Cleveland sports news. If it's so pertinent that we feel like we want to sit down and put together an episode, of course we will.
No, it's not going to be a break, though, brother. You're going to trade talking sports for talking politics with drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. Like, nobody's going to get a break. But carry on. We won't have a podcast.
Good. The good thing about this, right, is that I'm not going to my family's this year. I'm going to my girlfriend's family, so they won't talk politics with me, and I can just enjoy mimosas and Thanksgiving football. And
I'll be at the beach, brother. I'm not talking politics.
Well, knowing you, you'll probably bring them up at some point. But that I digress with. I want to talk.
Targeted.
Yeah, it'll be all right. You were throwing
penalty targeting Noah Olsen, number 77.
Hey, look,
this is his first of the game. He's
You're
ejected.
Number 77?
Yeah, I was 77.
I was number 7.
I know my boy's number.
Every sport, baseball, hockey, every time I could pick, I was 7.
13 for me.
You were 13.
Yeah,
that was my cousin's
he's also
number.
A Yankees fan, so tell him to shut up.
All right, let's get into it.
What happened here?
I'm going to start muting you guys if you don't let me start my topic, all right? Will soccer, MLS, ever take over the big four sports in the U.S., obviously being hockey, basketball, football, and baseball? Do you think MLS has a shot at ever overtaking any of the big four sports? Erik, I know you're excited to talk about this, Mr. Ball to foot, foot to ball. Start us off, man.
I don't know. I struggle with this question, I gotta say. There are so many things that need to fall in place in order for soccer to overtake one of the big four. Let's talk about the obvious ones that would be overtaken, right? That's hockey and baseball. And I'm a baseball guy. Don't get me wrong. Listen, of the four, it's hockey and baseball. Baseball attendance numbers have been dwindling. There's talk about that they should be playing in smaller parks. They're trying to change the game so much because of like with timing and shortening it, because the younger kids just aren't watching baseball. Tim, shout out. I hope you're doing well. I know there were some crazy snowstorms out there. Glad you're safe. Good to have you here.
Seconded on that.
Those are just the two sports. Like, I don't see basketball, the culture around basketball so big, and I don't see football anytime soon being supplanted. Bottom one, more so, I think, is hockey than baseball. That said, what MLS and soccer in America need to listen, it's the biggest sport in the world. We know that. So many people around the world watch it. The access to it is insane. And people grow up playing it because it requires a foot and a ball. The last one isn't even required. Like in some of the poorer countries, they make balls out of whatever they have on hand. So it's a massive sport. We know that. The problem in the United States is the system under which this sport occurs. If we got to a point where, for example, our best athletes were choosing soccer, if LeBron James chose soccer over basketball, and he was a force and he was the next Leo Messi, then I think the conversation changes. Now, what they're doing right now, bringing stars, it certainly helps. Messi is still incredible, even though it's like a retirement leg. He's still the biggest star in the world. If Ronaldo had come here and say he played for the LA Galaxy and you had that rivalry back, I think that helps the sport. But ultimately, it comes down to the youth. And what they're doing right now with the sport prohibits some of these kids from playing. It is a very wealthy sport, and it sounds silly, but in order to go anywhere in soccer in this country, you have to play travel ball. You have to put a lot of money up. You have to come from a wealthy background. So it's not accessible to a lot of kids who then go on to play basketball or football or whatever. In the same way that, hockey's not super accessible either. So if there are fundamental changes in how we do the system for kids, and if we can increase the talent pool and increase Team USA, and if Team USA is competing for World Cups and kids are growing up seeing that, then yes, absolutely, I think they can overtake. As it stands now, it's a hell of an uphill battle.
Erik, I want to point out one thing, and John, I'm not coming into my full take, and I'll let you go before me. But I think your take is very coded in the male side of things, is the first thing that I thought of because of how popular women's soccer is here and how great the U.S. women's national team is. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Now, I don't have the statistics in the back and the talking about all the club stuff and all that you came up with. My main point focuses around Messi and bringing in a big name. I'll get to that in a second. I want to let John go there, but I want to point out that I think the female side of soccer is missing here just a little bit with what you're saying.
Well, let me respond to that real quick because it's a decent point, but I think you need to know the sport a little better. Because it's like saying, hey, you really talked about the NBA, you talked about LeBron, you talked about KD, but you didn't talk about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark, because that's the golf in the sport. Like it or not, it's the same thing. Nobody's tuning in to watch the Chicago Fire, and a lot of those women's stars are now playing in Europe because Europe's dumping a lot of money into the Chelseas and the Arsenals of the world on the women's side.
Until it's the national team at the World Cup or something, because I'm telling you right now, I'd much rather watch the women's national team than the men's, and that goes
100%. I don't disagree with that.
Life. But yeah,
no, I don't disagree with you, but that's not every day. Still have the same problem.
Yeah, it's not a league. I like a lot of what you said. So there's me, I'm focused on the question. So the first thing that comes to mind is, will it ever overtake one of the major four? It will never overtake. I want to say never. Not in our lifetime. Will it overtake football, baseball,
in 1,000 years?
Or basketball? Yes, because when they come out with a study in 50 years that says football is even this much worse and everybody takes their kids out of football, and if they put them in soccer, it could go crazy, but not like next year, right? Right now we're talking about like in the confines of what we can foresee, can it get popular enough? The answer is yes. because hockey is the distant fourth. I think golf does better TV ratings. There's all kinds of other sports that come in ahead of it, but it's considered the fourth major sport. And could I see the MLS being as popular in the United States as the NHL? The answer is yes. I love hockey. It's a great sport. If you see it in person, it's unbelievable, but it's not good for TV, not super popular. I get it. Some of the other nuance points that you brought up, though, I don't think it'll ever overtake the other major sports because those are American sports. The reason soccer won't pass those here is the same reason they've been telling us for 100 years to learn the metric system because we're going to switch and we never do. Right? Like you got to know centimeters and get your gas in liters.
Basketball was invented in Canada, but go on.
We're never going to do it. It's the same thing with, will guns ever be illegal in the United States? No. No matter what. Because it's American and that's what we do. We're hard-headed and we don't follow data. We follow being Americans. That's why we got our independence. It also gets us into trouble. But the United States came up and invented football, and it's ours. American football is not popular anywhere. They tried NFL Europe. They couldn't get people and teams. And it's popular here, but it's king here because it's us. Same with baseball and basketball to a lesser extent because it is international.
But baseball used to be America's pastime, and that's really fallen away.
Yeah, but
you could use the same argument
ratings and look at the baseball ratings. I know it's fallen on hard times, but you're talking about, you're not talking about the difference between first place and second place. You're talking about the difference between first place and 1,150.
100%. My point is taste can change.
Yeah, they can change. And that's why I said 300 years from now, who the hell knows? But no, I'm not going to be telling my grandkids about back in the day where baseball was popular. Now MLS is number 2. I don't think there's any chance. I think there's a better chance of them making Premier. And the other thing is the MLS league kind of sucks. Like there's La Liga, there's Serie A, there's a Premier League, there's Bundesliga. There's all these leagues in Europe that are better. If we had Manchester United playing games in Cleveland and they split time and we got Premier League soccer here, maybe I'll start the conversation about how it could pass hockey. But you think they're going to do MLS numbers comparable to the NFL ever? I don't think there's any chance.
Well, you got to invest in talent at that point.
Let me hop in here for a second because I haven't got to get my whole take off yet. So I agree with, both sides. There's a little bit of both I like here, right? The first thing I want to say is the only opportunity that I see here for it to hop into being one of the big 4 sports is hockey. I think hockey is the only opportunity there. I think baseball being America's pastime and, the oldest root of sport, football is here to stay and will never go away no matter how much someone may or may not want it to be. And basketball, Erik, you're right. The culture around that sport is insane to this point in time, and it's only growing and creating more and more star power. The other thing, Erik, you kind of just said it at the end, which is my main point, if they continue to invest in talent. Messi comes over, plays for Miami. We're talking about a 1,125% increase in reactions, engagement with MLS Twitter in general. 517% on Instagram and an astonishing 2,488% increase in interactions on Facebook. I mean, these are numbers. These are statistics, right? If we're looking at that. So yes, if we bring in, some more players from overseas, even if they're coming to do their retirement tour like he is right now, why not? It would continue to help grow the sport. And I want to add something else too that's coming. We have the World Cup coming here soon, and I think that could help soccer as a sport grow here again in the U.S. and maybe push us to another echelon of men's and women's soccer. I don't know. It isn't my favorite sport by far. I would watch baseball, football, basketball, hell, even pole vaulting, I think, sometimes before soccer.
Yeah, those women are cute.
I do got to poke one hole in
I'm just saying
that. A 2,200% increase on 100 people isn't the 80 million people tweeting about the NFL on Sunday.
Man,
so there
I
has
was
to be
just gonna
2,200 times to get to the big. I mean, the gap there again is huge. But
Noah, I like your stats. I was just thinking we were gonna start calling him the Bear, like the Stanford guy on football, because I really appreciate the stats. Here's the thing. I'll give you one stat.
No, that's like me saying, would you rather have 2,200% increase on $50 or would you rather have $2 billion?
Right, but then you go
I
in.
gotta
They
do the
signed a
math. I
deal
don't
with
know.
Apple. They signed a deal with Apple for $2.5 billion for MLS season pass and stuff like that. Like, there's financial numbers here too that they weren't doing prior to this.
No,
Well,
I'm not saying it's not growing. I'm saying there's a gap the size of the Grand Canyon. $2.5 billion deal with Apple. Just the Cleveland Browns are worth $5 billion. Like, I'm just saying, don't get it twisted.
Okay, that's a dumb argument because the most respectfully, because the most valuable league in the world, the top like 3 are soccer clubs.
Yeah, but you guys are going off topic. The question isn't, is soccer popular in Europe? Duh. The question is, will the MLS pass the top 4 leagues in the United States? You guys are talking football and basketball and baseball. That's a different question. I know,
but talking about how much the Cleveland Browns are worth compared to the Apple deal, that's off topic too. Listen, I will say this with Messi. Thank you for. Can that
I
be
gave
our
you the
new
stats.
we agree?
I wanted to let you have your take, but I wanted to be like, get on.
Man,
I
appreciate
Eric.
that.
I'm with you.
Listen, the biggest stat that I can bring up off the top of my head right now with MLS and Messi coming over here are the number of games that I've watched, and it's 0. They have not interested me at all, not 1%. And I watch Chelsea just about every weekend. I have not watched a single Inter Miami game. They did get me to buy a piece of merch just because I really liked it. But none of it. And it's because the MLS is absolutely trash. It's terrible. And this is somebody that I've gone to actual Seattle Sounders games. I have family out there, and they do it properly. They do the march. They fill. It used to be CenturyLink. I'm not sure what it's called now. They'd fill the stadium. It was a lot of fun. I've taken my family there. We had a blast. I would try to go home from those trips knowing I love soccer and watch and follow them. It's just bad. It's bad quality sport compared to like the Premier League. Now, if they can get that talent and bring in current talent and really up the level of playing, I think the sky's the limit, honestly. But those are a lot of big ifs, and to make that happen.
And I don't think the sky's the limit. I think the limit is Major League Baseball at its best. Even if you had, like, if you transplanted all of the Premier League teams to the United States permanently, how long would it still take the MLS just to catch the NHL, let alone the NFL, MLB, or NBA?
And I agree with you on that point too. Yeah,
I think almost instant.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me ask you this. A little thought experiment for a second. Do you know someone in your immediate personal life? I don't want to even say immediate. Do you know someone, maybe a friend from college? You know, it could be as far out as that. Someone you haven't talked to in 5 to 10 years, but you used to be close with. Whatever. That is an NHL.
Sean.
Yeah, okay. That is an NHL fan of a team.
Yeah.
Like, would religiously watch that sport.
Doug Cross.
What?
Doug Cross.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's an answer, though.
I can name him.
Yeah.
Name me one person in your life who religiously turns on the MLS.
Rich Karolzak, Nick Hassasens, or however you say his last name. Those are just people in the building right now.
That watch the MLS?
Religiously?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said soccer in general.
No, I'm saying MLS.
Lorenzo. Pretty sure he's a big Crew fan.
Okay. I can make up names too. Kristen.
No, he used to work with Lorenzo. No, that's a real guy. Lorenzo.
Sam, he was
huge
into
the most Italian guy you'll ever meet.
No way, Lorenzo.
Lorenzo Costanzo.
Listen. My point in doing this is, even if you bring in all of these players, John's right. It's going to take a while and then some to get it to grow to the level of even the NHL. Because bypassing the NHL would mean having as many, if not more, fans than those people that you're already thinking of. Doug Cross is an example. My aunt is the biggest Penguins fan in the entire world. She's also a Yinzer. Sorry, Sherry. We don't really like you on the show. Yeah. What?
I just said Yinz. Wait, can I do an experiment now since you did one?
Yeah. And then we'll wrap this segment up.
All right, so here's my experiment. I want you fellas to tell me, what is your favorite pop soda for those watching outside of Ohio in the Midwest?
I
Just bear
thought we
with
were
me.
going to be on
Nah,
topic.
nah, bear with me. What is your favorite pop?
Yeah,
Vanilla Coke Zero.
Sprite or Sierra Mist or Starry, whatever's available.
Vanilla Coke Zero, Starry, Sprite. My point is, none of you said, like, I don't know, some off the wall pop, because those were the choices presented to you. You had Coke, you had Pepsi, you had Sprite. Those were your choices. If the Premier League here was a choice that was force fed down your throat and it was in prime time constantly, it would probably get a following over time.
Well, that was a reach, but I see where you got.
I mean,
No, I get it to an extent. I want to shout out the DGD podcast for hitting the like and sub and, putting that up there to remind you guys as well.
Now, I don't want to get super quick. I know you're trying to bounce off of this topic. So one last thing I wanted to get in. The question is about it overtaking the Big Four. I'm saying no on that. But you're watching the growth of soccer in front of your own eyes. We grew up as kids in the generation of everybody played soccer. You got a granola bar and a juice box. Now the kids who are our age are adults, and they're making decisions for their family, and they're watching TV, and they are watching more. There was a time in my life where the only time you would see soccer on TV was occasionally on the old sports network. The Cleveland Crunch Indoor would be on at like 11 p.m. running reruns or something. Or it was the Olympics or World Cup. And even then it was tough to find sometimes because of the time difference. Every single morning I get up on the weekend, there's some European soccer league playing. Like there's soccer programming. I know more about it. It's growing like crazy because all of the kids who grew up playing soccer are fueling the popularity. Is soccer more popular now than the United States than ever? Absolutely. Is the women's national team a great story? Absolutely. Is it a beautiful game and a sport that we should appreciate more? I would even go that far too. I like soccer, and when I get into it and have a rooting interest, I enjoy it. I watch every World Cup game that I can. Will it overtake the NBA is wild. That's all I'm saying. It's definitely
it's a different level for sure. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said about where it is too. If we got a Cleveland MLS team, you guys wouldn't support it?
I probably would. But no, it would be more on the level of like the Monsters for sure.
Correct.
I do. I mean, they're supposedly getting that women's team, so that'll be interesting.
Shout out Dan Gilbert, submitted a bid today for a WNBA team as well. The Rockers may be coming back to Cleveland.
I hope they call it something different.
I want the Rockers. Just
I want a Rockers too.
I hate the guitar,
and I hate doing that. Today.
I hate the guitar. I hate doing the heavy rock and roll Hall of Fame branding, but because it was one of the original WNBA teams, I think this is the exception in my mind, at least.
Why?
That's my personal thought.
I mean, we should bring back the Redskins too. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Racism versus a guitar is what you just put out there.
I don't know. The guitar's on a level, man. It's bad.
Oh my god!
I'm so sick of this Cleveland Rocks crap.
Examples. We had the pop example. We had Jimmy Haslam's child fetish.
I thought the pop example was a good example.
Eric's. It wasn't awful.
Thank you,
Eric. Are you under the influence of anything today? Because you have been off the wall, my man.
First of all, this is a family-friendly show, Noah. Please drink responsibly.
I agree with you, Noah. It should be the Rockers. I went to a bunch of games growing up when they first founded the league because my dad had a suite at the stadium, and his company would just give tickets to Rockers games and Lumberjacks games. Now the Monsters. Yeah, I still have a Mary Andrade signed something at the signature night from when I was like 6. I want the Rockers too.
Ooh.
Give me the Rockers. Give me the Rockers.
Final
thoughts and takes. Let's go into it. And I'm going to start us off because I didn't get to start one today. And mine is a quick, easy, simple one. As we all know, I think all of us here in Cleveland are very hyped up and excited about the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. So my final thought and take is one day, maybe sooner rather than later, and this is aged a little poorly now after Darius Garland's game against the Boston Celtics yesterday at the time of recording and doing this show live. One day, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and of course Donovan Mitchell are going to step on a basketball court all wearing their own signature shoe. If that isn't a Noah final thought or final hot take, I don't know what is. Erik, the floor is yours, man.
There was a man that just wanted justice for his family. So he fought his way into the gladiator arenas and he got that justice. And tomorrow I see what happens after that justice. And somehow Denzel's involved. I don't even care why, but I'm here for it. I'm not going to be watching the Browns Steelers because that's just a waste of time. I will be seeing Gladiator 2. And my hot take is not that hot. I don't think it can be better than the first, but I am very optimistic and very excited for this.
That's a good one.
And it was a sport. And I say here's my hot take. Bring back
3 hot takes with Erik Williams.
Erik,
this is my show. You guys
leave and let
listening.
You keep talking to the
Bring back
it's really okay.
Gladiatorial combat. Build a coliseum. Listen, MMA is a thing. If they want to fight to the death, I'm here for it. I'll buy a ticket. I might not like it.
No, you wouldn't. I'm calling cap because every single time we talk about, you don't even want them to play regular football because you wouldn't let your kid play football because of CTE, and you want to bring back fighting to the
gladiatorial
too. That doesn't mean I'm not going to watch.
No, mute him.
Listen, all I know is we need to put a shirt on the merch store at Fanatical Elves on Teespring. So make sure you check that out. John's got a shirt on that says,
I didn't notice that.
Listen, Erik Williams, with his little bobblehead thing on the back of it, because that has become his catchphrase today. No, listen. Hold, give me a second. Listen.
You guys wouldn't watch?
No. Fighting to the death with gladiators in an arena?
Stipe Miocic. He comes from a tough background.
I don't want to watch Stipe die. He's the face of Cleveland combat
and he kills
sport.
Steph Curry. I don't know. I'm tuning in.
Okay, so
you're not even watching the Browns.
Go ahead with your final thought.
He's not even watching Brown Steelers tomorrow. He's
first of all, I have producer access.
All right.
John,
my final take is going to be quasi-serious. We're not going to get together with you guys until after Thanksgiving. So don't forget to be thankful. We came on, we were all bitchy. You got work, you got kids, you got family, you got life, you got illness, and there's all this stuff going on. But we get to sit on a podcast for an hour a week and talk sports. We're privileged and fortunate. I'm thankful for you two. I'm thankful for the podcast, my family. So find something to be thankful for. Focus on the positive. Just got through a nasty election. The Browns stink. It will all be okay. We all have a lot to be thankful for, so stay focused on that. And I will see you in 2 weeks.
Gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I am very thankful for both of you and thankful for everything going on in Cleveland sports, good, bad, and the ugly, because at the end of the day, I am still entertained, and I still get to sit here in front of this silly little webcam with my silly little mic and talk with some of my best friends, whether it be you two, whether it be Matt, or anyone else that we bring onto the show. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys on this Friday, Saturday night. My ass is tired and going to go to bed after this now.
It's Wednesday, buddy.
You think it's Saturday.
What did I say?
You said Friday, then Saturday. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, it's a gladiator reference. That was well done. And then you said
right?
Then you said it was Saturday night.
Listen, on this fine Wednesday night, I really appreciate it. Reminder, break next week. We're all going to take a nice break, enjoy our families for the most part. John sounds like he's going to have a political discussion with his uncle he's not looking forward to, and that's fine. We all have those. Please hit the subscribe button, drop a like.
On my side. It's like this podcast. We fight the worst, but we all kind of agree. We're all on the same side, then we get heated, and then anyway, go ahead. Sign us off. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Hit the subscribe, like at East Bank Sports Show on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Please follow us over there. It helps us grow everything we got going on here at the office and on Mondays at the East Bank Sports Show. It has been an absolute pleasure, gentlemen. Cleveland, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until we see each other again, have a great rest of everything I just said. Have a good one. Peace.